We are continuing our conversations with retailers in Asia. Today we will meet Yuen. She's the Chief Merchandising and Marketing Officer at AEON Group Malaysia and member of the advisory board of NRF APAC. The group was founded in Japan in 1969 and it was just called Jusco, from Japan United Stores Company. Their mission was to provide Japanese customers with the best value products and services. Jusco quickly grew around Japan, and in 1984, with already the name of AEON, they set its sights on Malaysia and accepted the government's invitation to help modernize the country's retail industry. In my conversation with Yuen, we talk about the business challenges, opportunities, and how her background in media has given her superpowers to understand a new audience, consumers. Here's Paula Macaggi, and this is episode 29 of my show. Welcome to OFFBounds. Welcome to the show, Yuen.
Thank you very much for having me.
I know that you have been on this side
Media?
Before in your career in media. How was that?
It was a great time, I think, of my career because it made me understand the needs of audiences. What is it that you say that will make a difference in what they're hearing? How do you say that? How do you present content? How do you understand your audience even though you're not seeing them at all? So that I picked up like maybe say 10 years of 20 hours a day at work, and voila. So I've done all formats from television, radio.
In front of the camera and
behind. I produced, wrote, directed. So it's almost everything that I've done.
Well, so you have a lot to teach me.
No, not at all. I think it's a continuous learning for everyone. It's also about interest, right? If you're interested in something, you will learn it.
Yeah, and how about from media to retail?
I really think it is because of my understanding or my innate need to understand and match. Okay, what is the need of the audience? What are they watching for? What do they want? That translated it into, I think you do great in retail because in retail, that's what we're looking for too. Someone who can understand what the consumers want, who is on ground a lot, very Genba, always looking for solutions for the customers and the consumers. And I am such a personality. So when I was offered, most of the time, a lot of people, if you're in a different industry, you will take a longer time. You may take a while, give me some time, let me think about this, right? But for me, it was immediate. Yes, I'll do it.
Yeah, and retail is super fast, right? Like you try things and you see the results super fast,
so is media. You test something, it goes out and you know immediately if it tanked. With retail, I still have time to pivot. So for example, in my work as the Chief Merchandise Officer, I do like a lot of things with product development. And so understanding that, what is on the shelf, how do consumers want, what do they want? Better quality, better pricing, better variants, better assortment. So we need to decide on that very quickly. But we also have time to keep shifting, keep changing, but we got to keep looking. So you're always pivoting to fit better.
Interesting. So your media background gave you the ability to read audiences, which is, customers are audience.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right.
They're all consumers, right? And they're consuming different things maybe. But I started university in sciences, in biology and chemistry. And I think that gave me the whole structure of really thinking about stuff. So whenever I do something, I'm very clear, what am I trying to do? What do I want to achieve? And that's like my objective. And then I will do whatever it takes. I'll experiment a lot of stuff. And then, okay, what are the stuff I need to do to change this result? Is there the next experiment that I need to be doing? So the way I structure how I think is that.
So let's see how you think on the retail side then. AEON Group is a Japanese group, right?
Yes,
and it's present in a few countries, right?
That's right.
How is that different between the countries, and what is so specific about Malaysia?
Well, AEON is actually, before this, AEON was called the Jusco, and it was an alliance, and it's gotten an invitation from the Prime Minister of Malaysia to come in and to modernize the supply chain and retail. So AEON Jusco back then took on the challenge and say, yes, let's go, let's do it. It's been 40 years in Malaysia already, and we are one of the larger group outside of Japan. We're also present in China, in APAC specifically. We are also present in Indonesia, Vietnam, Cambodia, Thailand. We have a lot of Japanese products. That's one of the key differentiation. But it's also how we look at the details, how we serve, what are priorities when we serve. So those little things will make a difference. And when localization happens, and when we localize that together with the team, we get them to understand the little nuances, and then they apply that. So more differences are being seen. So while it is increasingly an extremely competitive market, we are always asking, where is the differentiation? Where is the exclusivity? How do you do this, making sure that the customers and the consumers are on your side all the time? How do you make sure you have a great relationship with them? What else do they need? What else are we not serving? So those are the questions that we constantly, every day asking.
If it's been 40 years, right? So you have to evolve with the consumers.
Yes, it's true. It's true. We used to serve the grandparents. Today, we want to be able to serve the third generation. That's got its own challenges as well, of course, because different phases in your life, you don't necessarily need a departmental store. You may need a smaller format of a supermarket. Maybe you just want to dash in very quickly to a convenience format, which we don't have, but we're now looking at our drugstore and thinking what we can do with that better to serve.
Yeah, so I think we need even to go a step back. So AEON Group, what kind of retail it is? You have different types of retail, right?
So we have the AEON Mall business, which is the shopping mall business, and then we have the retail business. So in the retail business, we've got a lot of different formats. So we have the departmental store format. So we sell food, fresh food, grocery, apparel, bedding, electrical items, gaming stuff, toys, children apparel. So it's really everything. And then
basically essential, like you sell everything that is essential for a human being to live.
General merchandise store, GMS. Yeah. And then we have a drugstore. We have like wellness, AEON Wellness, and then we have in the country 60 plus stores. We have the hypermarket format. We also have flat price stores. We also have, in Malaysia, even though it's not the same company, but we work very closely with each other because to the customers, we're the same. We have the AEON Financial Services, and we also have the digital bank that we've just launched about a month ago. So all this, when you look at it from the point of view of the customers, then it's really exciting that there's just so much that they can do with us, and that the touch points in their daily journey, how much are we a part of that? So that's something that we are constantly making sure we're at the top.
Yeah, you have to. And you also have other channels, I believe online and offline, right?
Yes, absolutely. For us, the online channel is a form of convenience for the customers. Of course, it's really how the consumer decides to use. Do they want information? So if they type in certain things, it will come out on our website also. It will come out on our e-commerce site. It will also come out as a suggestion. It will come out in all kinds of format that, the consumers may want to look at it. And then after that, it is really about, so what do they choose to do next? Do they want to come to us to buy physically because they want to see it, they want to touch it, they want to know it? Or do they want to speak to someone about it? Or do they want to get it online, because it's faster, it's quicker? And how do we facilitate that so that it's really easy a step to do? So whether it's mobile, whether it is on the web, whether it is, on a screen that you come across. So how do we do that easily? So that's something we're also working very hard on.
Yeah, and your work of interpreting this type of audience, let's say, assume it's a lot on data, right? How do you collect these insights, and do you have a team that is specialized in that?
We do have data team, but we also think it is important that everyone that's making decision understands data. So they pull out their own data. They need to make justification about, okay, my next action plan is this, or this is a product I'm bringing in at this price because if I match it on the shelf and versus the competitor's shelf, how is it going to look and what are we doing about it? How are we positioning this? Is this better in terms of price, that we want to fight in price for this? Or is this something that we want to go really deep in terms of assortment, in terms of the range, and where do we put it? So those things, they are the one making the decision. So for them to make that decision, data needs to be at their fingertips. They need to understand what they're saying and how they're going to do that. So working cross-department is something that is, it's really
that can
not
be very
comfortable.
challenging.
Yes, it's not comfortable, but it's increasingly a necessity today. You really just can't do just your bit anymore. You got to do a lot of other bits. And then because you will also be challenged, okay, I understand what you're going to do in the store with this particular range or this particular product. What are you going to do online? How are you making sure in terms of positioning, where you're putting online for them to think about? Okay, online is going to be different because when I search, how do I search? Or do I want them to search? Can I just serve it to them because, it is new? Or it's not so new. Oh, it's different. Oh, I need to explain this. How do I do this? So all these things need to happen. So, in an offline store, for example, you will see a lot of promoters especially when it's a new product or when they want to make sure that they remain top of mind or when they want to test the market. Well, how do you do that online? How do you make sure that's clear online? Do we hey, every basket, if you have this, which we don't say, you get this.
Yeah.
And what else? What are the other mechanics that we can do? So these are the kind of strategy that you must back up with data. And so if it's only the data team doing this, can you imagine how crazy their work is? And they will never finish. So every single merchandisers and buyers will have to know why, how, and have proof.
Yeah, it's very hard to have this communication. I've talked to a few retailers a few times and they were like, fine, I'm the one who leads the creative part of the store. But if the data doesn't get to me, I don't know what type of adjustments I have to do. So you have to communicate very clearly between silos, right?
Yes, and automation is also very important. So there are a lot of automated parts. So let's say on a sales floor, we have anything from between 25,000 to 35,000 SKUs. And that's, by far a lot for any one person, any two person, any team of persons, right? So there are going to be items that you automate, and then there are going to be surprises that you want to bring to your customers, and then there are going to be new items, and what kind of promotion that you're running for the week or for the month, and those are the stuff that you want to pay attention to. And we want to be able to give them the whys too, so that when you're paying attention to it, you need to understand the material, the ingredients, the plus points that it's giving to the consumer. So it's not just from the point of view of the retailer, but we kind of have to communicate from the point of view of the consumer wanting to know more. Because if they don't know more, then they're not going to be so interested. But how do we get the team, everybody to know more? So how do we automate this process? Because after you automate, there's a lot more stuff that's going to be happening manually, right?
That helps a little bit.
Yes, it helps. It helps. The process is set.
Yeah.
So now that you have your process, so now how do you then get them to humanize the rest of the things? But before you get to humanizing it, they need to know, okay, this is what I'm going to do. Here, step 1, step 2, step 3. So getting this automation in place and then getting the customers to also have freedom to choose and to try and to do, that's amazing.
It is amazing and seems to be a very complex job that you have on your shoulders. And how do you manage your team? How is your leadership style for them to be on top of all that?
It's really hard to say this from my point of view, to be really honest. Because I would think,
I'm
doing it wonderfully. But to them, they will be like, oh, she's very difficult, she already knows what she wants, but she's not telling us. And then she wants us to experiment and try,
That seems that you allow a lot of risk-taking then.
I do. Definitely I do. But it is really also how the team takes to it, right? So sometimes there are personalities that feel that, why don't you just tell me? And it cuts short all the time. But I will be like, but then you will not learn. I want to give you the rod, not the fish. Take the rod and go do it. But then for some people, this process is a painful one. Not everyone appreciates the process until much later, until when they grow more mature. And then they will realize, the process that I've been put through by this leader got me to think like this, and it's gotten me into a...
So you're training the analytical thinking pretty much.
Well, training anything, some kind of a structure to deal with problems, to look at issues. What is the step 1? Must be communication. And step 2 is how do you make the decision to communicate? What are the formats, and what are the questions you need to be asking? If you have the questions correct, chances are your answers will be right. But if your questions are wrong, for example, if you have a wrong question like, that's not my fault, why are they asking me? Wrong question. It's always about the customers. The customers can't find this product. So don't get defensive. Just understand what didn't happen. Is it replenishment that didn't happen? Is it you didn't order fast enough? Or did the automation miss this particular product because, for example, it wasn't replenished before and therefore no sales and no fault of the product, but the customers are looking and waiting. How do we solve this? You can't. If you feel like this is my territory, I'm doing fine. So you need to sort of like rethink how your role is in the process of automation, the process of technology, and also in answering consumers, understanding that, oh, I don't care how you run your operations. I just want to know how I'm supposed to get it easily.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to know that, oh, there was a problem in the back. No. Where's my product?
Yes,
right?
correct. So this is some of the stuff that we're still trying to solve. And we want to work together with suppliers to do this properly, and also working alongside the suppliers to make sure that the service level is as best it can be to serve the customers. That's also really important. So there's just so many bits to this. So your leadership, when you are facing a supplier, and you're facing the consumers, and you're facing, let's say, your own team and the different levels of your teammate, and the various different cross-departmental team that you have to get them to work together is all different. So is there one way to just sort of describe my leadership? No, I really personally feel I'm quite a fun leader. I don't know.
I would love to work with you. I'm feeling we will work great together.
Yeah, because I really like to try stuff. I really will say, I green-light a lot of things that people just want to test, because if you don't test new things, if you don't make them excited about new things, then the job will be, monotonous, and you don't want them to feel that. You want them to always wake up and say, I've got this great idea. And maybe when you listen to the idea and you're like, but you go, let's try it. Because what's the worst that could happen? You pivot, you change. It's as simple as that.
Yeah, and you have to fail in order to be successful, right?
But actually, you will never get to the fail. It will just get to the it didn't work. Okay. And then you just sort of pivot and change all the time. When you do fail, it's really because you dropped the ball. You really did not look at it. And therefore, you did not make any pivots, you did not change.
You took the most dangerous risk, which is not doing anything.
Yes, absolutely. Very well said. That's exactly the point.
So that seems for me that you were very on top of the industry, and that made me realize why you are in the advisory board of NF APAC. Why you got here?
I was sent an invitation one day in my email, and then I had the conversation with after. And I thought to myself that if I'm given this honor to, contribute and to have my say and to make, even if it's a really small mark about what is shifting the consumers across APAC, how is retail changing, whether it's the mall or it's retailing, whether it's online or whether it's offline, how does that merge together? Technology, how is it driving all these pieces and putting them together? I'll do it. I mean, it's such an honor.
Yeah, it is. And how is consumers changing in APAC then?
Really, the fundamental of it is that the economic shift, right? You're not earning as much as you like to, and you want to spend more. I think the way we deal with work is different. I mean, from the consumer's point of view, okay?
Of course.
Not me as retailer. So how
we are all consumers at the end of the day.
It's true though. So how do we now look at work? How do we now look at leisure? And how do we now look at the value of my time? How much I'm being paid for what I do, and how much I want to spend that, and where I'm going to spend that. How I'm going to spend it becomes something that's on everyone's mind. In what area do I want convenience? In what area this convenience means online click, shop. Or in what area I want to spend time going through racks of I don't know what, and feel it and touch it and just try it. So these are all things that are changing, and it's really very fun to watch. And then quickly, okay, do something. Hey, they want to be able to feel the latest trend that's happening, let's say on any of the social media platform, and they want to see that. Can we work fast enough to bring that in so that it's not necessary to sell it, but it's necessary for them to come in and say that they saw it. Come touch it. Yeah. Exactly. Come feel it. Come tell yourself if it is all that.
I see that a lot in the beauty part of the business, right?
Yes,
like there's
true.
A new product like every hour
yes,
that goes
true.
viral.
It's true. So for beauty and wellness, we are working quite specifically with a lot of indie brands. Not so much the big brands. I think the big brands, they will have their, their coffer, they will have enough investment to last the runway of how they're going to market, how they're going to be positioning themselves in the market. But for us, what we want to look at are the singular product that suddenly overnight became a sensation. Why is it a sensation? We want the customers to be able to try that and have access to it. You don't need to wait 3 to 4 days to get it in the mailbox. You can just come right now and test it on us, and we sometimes even give out, samples for you to really test it. We want this to become a part of how we run.
And that they experience your environment, right?
Yes.
They might buy something else. They might,
I can only influence them. I won't tell them this is what I want you to do.
Of course.
But, as long as I have a relationship with the consumer, that's when you start.
Yeah.
After the rest, how you're building on the relationship, that's really, you continuously do good.
And that's
it's
how
never
you,
just one thing.
Yeah, that's how you rejuvenate the brand as well.
Rejuvenate the brand? Yeah. All the time.
And for most of my audience isn't from the region, unfortunately. Maybe I'll change that. What would you say for someone that's considering coming and visit the show next year? What they should be expecting?
I think the Asia Pacific consumers, to be really honest, fundamentally, they're not all that different from the Europeans and from the Americans and from Brazilians, for example. They just really want good products, quality. They want to get it at a good price. So pricing-wise, you must understand where you are positioning yourself. But then understanding the nuances, coming here and really experiencing the malls here, the stores.
Well, let's talk about Singaporean malls. I was mind blown.
Yeah, right. Yeah, and also supermarkets, for example, the kind of fresh produce, how we display the fresh produce. It's really quite different from how it's being done in Europe. And how fresh do we want it? To what degree of freshness do we want it? And that we're happy with is, again, quite different. What kind of fish we want to eat. So you only be able to see that when you are here. What kind of BWS that you want to have on your table. What sort of, how quick do you want to drink your wine, for example. And these are stuff only from real observation right here where you can see a melting pot of representation of every other race from Southeast Asia here in Singapore, that you're able to, I get it. I understand now. I understand when they say differentiation. I understand when they say uniqueness. I understand when my products will be positioned correctly. Or I understand as a retail format, or if I want to grow a mall here, what I need to do. Is what I'm doing good enough for Asia Pacific? Test it here.
It's very funny because from my perspective, the reason I wanted to come to NRF APAC so much is because we take Asia as our benchmark. I'm like, they're doing so many things that are nicer than us. Let's check what it is. So I think in my perspective, I came to see the innovation, the particularities in the market, and And just by talking to you, I'm already so inspired. Thank you so much for sitting with me.
Yes, thank you.
It was great. Thank you.